Hello, and welcome to Movie of the Year, the only podcast with the science and the screaming to determine what is the single greatest movie of any given year. My name is Ryan, the single greatest host of this show, and the year, maybe the single greatest year, 1971. Tonight's movie in question and answer, we're going to have both the questions and the answers for you, is the movie Duel. As always, I do have to warn you and anybody who's about to step into this studio that this podcast is not just incredible film analysis, but it's also a game show where people will be awarded points by complimenting me, insulting me, I like that a little bit more if you know what I mean, and making good points about the film, and slapping me, and calling me daddy. Let's see who our panel is. We're going to start off with Mike. Mike is here.
Thank you, daddy. Happy to be here.
Actually, since I had a kid, I don't love that so much anymore. So take that back.
That's how I meant it. I see you as a father figure who one day I will duel.
He's going puppies. Puppies.
If you have a kid, the one thing you do need to know is that you will have to duel them. And my suggestion, do it before they're 5 years old. You will win. Mike, are you excited for tonight? Let's get to Greg. Greg is here.
Hey, Ryan. I loved the complicated picture that emerged from you both wanting to be insulted and slapped and called daddy.
Yeah,
very interesting. So you are Switch. I love that. I love to hear that. I love to find that out live and on air.
Is there something I can call you while you slap me?
Mister?
Mister.
Yeah.
Mr. Greg?
Yeah. I thought we should bring
Mr.
a
Dennis.
weird energy to everything we're doing tonight.
There's probably a reason for that. Our third panelist. Oh boy, where do we even start? Co-creator of the King Cast, a writer. It's Eric Vespes. A writer. Help me out here. At 16 years old on Ain't It Cool News.
I believe that's the origin story. My first interview was 14 for my high school newspaper, so I kind of count that as my origin story. And that interview, George Carlin. So
that was George Carlin, yes.
Yeah, so we hadn't even interviewed the other kids in the class. I was in Journalism 101. I wasn't even writing for the newspaper, but we shared a room with that class, and I was like, hey, George Carlin's coming into town. I like George Carlin. Can I review his comedy show? And they said, I guess, nerd. Like, sure, why not? And so I went to the show, and like a dutiful journalist to be, I demanded an interview with George Carlin afterwards, and they promptly told me no. And then they said, okay, well, give me your number. Maybe he'll call you. And he called me, and we ended up doing the interview. So,
and was he a nice guy? Did he make you call him daddy?
He was. I didn't, but he gave me a great piece of advice there. I didn't ask in advance. I can curse on the show, correct?
You can say all 7 of the words you cannot say on podcasting.
Great.
Yes.
So I've gone back and listened to this, not in the near recent memory, but when I found my old microcassette tape of this interview that I did with George Carlin over the phone, which was conducted in the most technologically sound way, which is I was on one line of the landline and my mom was on the other, holding the microphone up, the tape recorder microphone up to the earpiece.
Adorable.
On the other phone.
We love a supportive mom.
And it opens with, ring, ring, hello. He goes, hi, this is George Carlin. How are you? Hi. I probably cut that short by a couple of seconds, if anything. And so I did that, and I was like, hey, I'm so sorry. I just want to apologize in advance. I'm nervous. Because this is my first interview ever. And he said, here, and this is one of the very first things he said to me was it's like, I've learned if there's one thing I've learned in life is if you go through life and you don't give a fuck, you find yourself a happier person. And I was like, okay. And I still give a fuck. So I didn't really take his advice, but but it was a great icebreaker. And I asked some weird questions, because I took it very seriously. I went to the high school library, and this is before the age of the internet where you could just type in research stuff and go bring me George Carlin stuff. So I went to the librarian and used the Dewey Decimal System and found articles that were written about George Carlin. One of them was about him getting arrested as a teenager for stealing a van from work. And I just thought, I'm like, so I said, hey, so you got arrested as a teenager for stealing a van from work. And he goes, yeah. And I said, where'd you go? and he laughed, but he was just I think he was just I probably just went and got high with my friends. I honestly don't remember.
I mean, in a van back then.
If you're stealing a van, you're getting high.
So that's some like Nardwar. I was on my Nardwar shit back then, and I should probably take some notes from younger, hungrier me to like. I should bring that kind of energy to the King Cast and the Spiel and the other shows that I do now.
See, I miss those days because I could clearly see a montage of you doing research in the library, books on the floor, microfiche. Now the montage is just Google for 2 seconds, and so it's less romantic. Speaking of the Spiel is. Do we put this in there or no?
We do. You know, because I guess the thought is that if you ever like, if I was ever lucky enough to get Steven Spielberg on the Spiel, I want it to be the Spiel with Spielberg, not the Spiel with Spielberg. You know what I mean?
What about the
Well, you're
Spiel
gonna
with
mess that up.
Spielberg?
You could do that, and then he promptly goes, cool. He does the Abe Simpson quick turnaround and walks out.
Is your name Bart?
Yeah, we were lucky enough, you know, to get Stephen King on the King Cast. So, you know, we had we built the Spiel in mind with like kind of laying a trap to hopefully ensnare Steven Spielberg someday.
And you have met him, right? Because isn't there a story where he asked if he needs to introduce you as Eric or Quint?
Yeah,
Which is your name from Ain't It Cool?
yeah. No, in the Ain't It Cool days, Jaws is my all-time favorite movie. So when we all picked spy names back then, theoretically it was to hide the real informants that were constantly sending in like scoops and stuff, and everybody got a spy name. So if even the main writers had a spy name, it helped conceal everybody. And we had some celebrities writing in. I actually found out when he came on the show, David Lowery, the director, he's like, oh, I used to submit test screening reviews under blank name on Ain't It Cool. You know, we've had there's some pretty famous people that wrote under those names. I wasn't one of them, but we took names, and I remember I gave Harry, who ran the site, you know, when I sent in my first thing, I said, well, Jaws is my favorite movie. You can call me Brody, Hooper, or Quint. Those are my, you know, it's my favorite movie. The main three characters of my favorite movie. And he settled on Quint so he could make crusty seaman jokes when he introduced my articles. Keeping in mind that, again, I was 16 years old. When maybe that should have been a red flag, but I was 16 years old when I was starting to write for Ain't It Cool, and yeah, so like back then, like people don't really understand now, but Ain't It Cool was like the place to be for nerd culture before, you know, all these town squares kind of popped up, right? So there were forums and stuff, but Ain't It Cool was like where every nerd and geek kind of congregated for a you know, a nice section of time. Obviously, it lost its luster after a while and is barely remembered these days. But if you were there at the time, you know it was a big deal. And Spielberg read the site. You know, he's a nerd and he read it, and you know, and I was somehow talked my way onto the set of War of the Worlds, and Paramount let me go and visit by my, you know, on my own day. There's no other press around me. And yeah, that was the point where it was Tom Cruise's sister who was acting as his publicist. I believe she got fired because this is the jumping on a couch era Tom Cruise, right? And I think I don't think she survived.
And she should have been like, don't do that.
And yeah, but Leanne DeVette was her name, if I remember correctly, and she approached me and says he wants to see you now. He wants to meet you. And I said, he who? And she just kind of gave me a look like, who do you think? And she walks me up to Spielberg, and as we're walking, you know, up to him, and like this is, and it might be bullshit. This might be all movie bullshit, but in my mind, I might be like, it's like fantasizing. It's like heavenly creatures-ing, you know, a real world scenario. But he was surrounded by all of his HODs. They were shooting outside. It was all the stuff where like the tank was rolling down the hill on fire. It was that section of stuff. There were all the refugees out there. And he's like a general just kind of overlooking this valley that's got all this like gun smoke hanging in the air from the previous take. And there's like hundreds of extras. And he's smoking a stogie. It's the last day of photography. He's smoking a cigar, and all of his HODs were around. The heads of department were around him. And as we're walking up, they all just dispersed immediately, leaving him like a general looking out over all these things. And she walks me up and she says, "Hey, do you want me to introduce you as Eric or Quint?" And I said, "For the love of God, introduce me as Eric. Don't introduce me as a character from one of his movies." And of course, he introduces me as Quint from Ain't It Cool News, and he goes, Quint. He's like, "Do you mind if I call you Eric?" And it's, you know, he pretty much said, he's like, "It's a little weird, you know, calling you Quint." And he's like, "But you know, I've always liked the name Quint. You know who didn't like the name Quint?" I said, "No, sir." And he says, Robert Shaw. I was like, get the
No.
fuck out of here, really? And he said yeah. He said he right all before they started shooting, he like Robert Shaw kept coming to him, going, "Hey, are you sure you want to do this?" He's like, and he said ultimately it came down to him going, Quint it's a single syllable, it's sharp. He's like, think of Quint like he uses his name to hunt the shark, right? It's a it's a banger of a name. It's a sharp name. It's a deadly name, right? And apparently he did this whole spiel for Robert Shaw, and then Robert Shaw like looked at him and said, "Okay, but hear me out, Quint or McGregor," and they stuck with Quint. So, anyways, that was my introduction to Steven Spielberg. He told me a Jaws story that I'd never heard before, and I've read all the books, I've watched all the behind the scenes stuff. So I'm just like, I was already in hog heaven, and then we just nerded out about Ray Harryhausen and Willis O'Brien and stuff. Yeah.
I'm glad he told you one that you hadn't heard, because if you had heard it, you'd be like, yeah, I know. God, shut up, dude.
It's like, get some new material, hack.
Yeah. I do want to point out that I've also been on the set of War of the Worlds. I have driven through where the plane crashed in the Universal Studios tram ride in Hollywood, California. So didn't meet Spielberg that day, but I think I'm just as cool.
Pretty
Eric,
much. Sorry, you got me a telling the stories again. Sorry about that.
Before we get started and talking about the movie, I do want you to just like pitch the spiel to us, or the spiel. What's the goal? Where did the idea come from?
Well, I began my first steps into the world of podcasting, like most of the ones that you hear these days, during lockdown and COVID, with the Kingcast, which is a Stephen King podcast. And I always said that there was only two things I felt that I was educated enough about to talk about, in any sort of authoritarian word. That sounds weird. It's like I'm a dictator general or something. But with any kind of authority, and it was one of the two Stevens. It was either Spielberg or King. And we, me and my partner in crime at the time, Scott Wampler, he passed away unfortunately last year, but we started with the Kingcast, and that had been, kind of took off, and it's great. And the whole conceit there was that Stephen King was such a influence on so many creatives that we could have a celebrity guest on, or an interesting guest, somebody on every week, to talk about how Stephen King influenced them. And you can do the same thing with Spielberg. And so we talked pretty early on about doing essentially what we did with the Kingcast with Steven Spielberg show. And Scott and I were developing it. We'd recorded 3 months worth of episodes, and then like literally 2 weeks before the show was supposed to launch, Scott had a heart attack and he died. And so there was it took a little bit to kind of get our heads around, but we honored that show. It was great. We had some great guests already lined up. We had Brian Michael Bendis, the comic author, came in and wanted to talk about 1941, and that was a great episode. We had Haley Joel Osment came on to talk about working on AI, and so the idea is that we, I've kind of carried that on from there, and we. Sometimes I have another co-host. Sometimes it's just me solo now. But the idea is that we can bring in people who are creatives in the world, actors, writers, directors, comic book writers, screenwriters, and they can talk about their favorite Spielberg movie, usually. And with Stephen King, you can get away with movie adaptation or short story or whatever. Mostly it's movies with Steven Spielberg.
He's known for that.
Yeah. I mean, maybe somebody will come on and want to talk about his, court appearances for the Twilight Zone movie. I don't know. But, I also had like Frank Marshall on, who co-founded Amblin with Spielberg and his longtime producer. So I like this kind of back and forth that we do with the spiel, where we talk to creatives, and then we'll have Lexi from Jurassic Park will come on and talk about her experiences working with Spielberg, right? So you kind of get this twofold show where you either get fun people like Kumail Nanjiani coming on to talk about how much he fucking loves Raiders of the Lost Ark for an hour, or you'll have somebody who actually worked with Spielberg and talk about his process and talk about what he's like creatively. So
they're both pretty big deals in the podcasting world, so check them out if you haven't. But yeah, Eric, I wanted to. So you starting the spiel is what made me obviously made me want to get you on this show. Right. Talk about a movie that not one of his most famous because it was released on television. So
Ew.
before we dive into and I know it's disgusting, but we have to do what we have to do. Before we start breaking the movie open, I just want to get some brief words about your guys' feelings on the actual movie. So I'll start with you, Eric. Is Duel good?
I like Duel a lot. And when I revisited it for this appearance here, I did something that I'd never done before, and I watched the television version cut and then the theatrical cut, because what had happened with this was it was received so well that some foreign territories wanted to release it. And I think that they ended up releasing it a little bit here in like drive-ins in the States. But it was mostly for foreign demand, and it just wasn't long enough. So the company gave Spielberg more money to go and pad it out, and they shot a few more scenes and added it in. And those scenes are the best scenes in the movie. Like, they're so good. And there's one with a school bus driver that he's trying to help unstuck the school bus by pushing it with his car, which I guess was a thing that they used to do in the early 70s. And and there's this great sequence that really underlines how much of a weenie the main character is, but it's he goes into a gas station that's also a laundromat, I guess, and a lady's taking her clothes out of a dryer, and it's like perfectly framing Dennis Weaver, as he's on the phone with his wife, and you find out that they'd been arguing because somebody was forcing himself on her, like to the point where she uses the R word, like, oh, he was that close to sexually assaulting me, and then he goes, what am I supposed to do, hit the guy or whatever? It's like, you weenie. But but I really like that, because through in the TV version, all you get is his inner monologue of him kind of being a weenie and going like, I'm sorry, I can't help it, I go slow sometimes. And like, he gets all in his head. But I like that you get this like backstory of like, oh, so this guy actually standing up to this menace, this truck that is tormenting him. It actually gives him a character arc beyond just being kind of a weenus to start with. So I once again, you asked me a very simple question: did I like it or not? And I've given you a 2-minute long answer, and I apologize for that. Sorry, you got a podcaster on here. We talk and kill time. That's what we do. But yes, no, I like it quite a bit, and especially since I'm a big Jaws nerd, and there's so many parallels between this movie and Jaws, and Spielberg himself viewed Jaws as a spiritual sequel to this movie. I can't help but love all the little bits of it. And I also just love this era of Spielberg where he's still that film student, right? Where he's still like embracing the Altman overlapping dialogue and the naturalism and stuff, and all that kind of stuff goes out the window around the Raiders and E.T. era, right?
Yeah,
Which I love, but it's a very specific era of Spielberg here.
It's a good point, because before he was timeless, he was like very of his era, and I think you get that in Duel. Greg, what about you? Does Duel rule?
I liked it a lot. I really enjoyed it. My Duel was like a movie my parents talked about. It's interesting because it was a made-for-TV movie, but I think it comes from an era where there weren't that many channels, and like if you were going to put a movie on TV, you made it like a big event. Like you advertise it for a month ahead of time, huge advertisements in the newspaper and everything. And so they always talked about it in very laudatory tones. This was the first time I ever sat down and watched the theatrical cut of it. And I really, really enjoyed it. It is very well done. I think there are some weaknesses that we'll get into, and I think it's kind of a different class. It's like maybe in a different category than the other movies we've done so far this season, but in terms of sit down and enjoy yourself, you basically will nonstop for 90 minutes.
It's Cracker Jack thrill ride. Mike, what do you think?
It's a Cracker Jack thrill ride, Ryan.
Nice.
A good call.
Oh, you just said that. I'd seen the last 5 minutes of Duel dozens of times. I don't know why. It's just
I do.
Knowledge.
Do you want me to tell you why?
Is it the Spielberg documentary?
No, based on when you were born, it's because something you had taped off TV that you watched a lot included the last 5 minutes for some reason.
Right before I saw Scrambled Nipples, I saw this truck fly into the canyon over and over and over again. And you hear TV movie, and you're like, well, if it's not Brandy's Cinderella, this is going to suck. But you know what? It doesn't. It's a Cracker Jack thrill ride. Like I agree with Greg. Like I said, there are weaknesses, but there's such interesting glimmers of what's to come that it's a fascinating watch.
I can also point out this isn't his first TV movie. He did 2 other TV movies before this that nobody talks about for good reason. He did one with Martin Landau called Savage, which I honestly don't remember much about. And then he did a really shitty horror movie with Darren McGavin called Something Evil. And and those are both TV movies too, but Duel is the one where everything clicks. I don't know if have you guys seen his Columbo pilot that he did as well?
I watched it when I was a kid. Yeah,
the Columbo pilot reminds me a lot of Duel in that you could just see this is the guy where Something Evil and Savage, that just feels like a kid doing, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to shoot this. This is what the bosses want. But Columbo opens up with a long lens shot of a car driving along a freeway and driving slowly up into this parking lot. And you realize it's in one move, it's showing that. And then the camera pulls back and you see the victim and his murderer is the guy in the car. And so in filmmaking language, this guy in the pilot for Columbo goes murderer, victim, one shot, and it starts, a half a mile away, and then it continues in one shot until the guy walks into the room. And it's like, and you see glimpses of that here in Duel where you're like, that's Steven Spielberg. That's the guy that's racking focus at the right time and visually telling you what's going on with the camera and not doing what a lot of these TV movies do and just, make it stage bound and feels like 2 actors sitting in a room.
Right.
They're having their lines read to them off, or held up on a cue card or something,
And really close watchers of Duel can tell that the truck was actually based on the guy who played Columbo, because one headlight goes forward and the other headlight just bounces around all the time. We're going to take a break.
That would be Peter Falk. And put a name.
That'd be Peter Falk.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, Duel. In early 1971, Steven Spielberg's secretary Nona Tyson handed him an issue of Playboy. The magazine featured a short story by I Am Legend author Richard Matheson about a man in a truck. Spielberg, who at the time was 24 and far too young to have a secretary, regardless of his career, probably blushed at the idea of pictures of boobies. After wiping his sweaty brow, Tyson explained that Universal was shooting a TV movie based on the story inside, and Spielberg immediately ran to the bathroom to read it. Spielberg got the job based on an episode of Columbo he had just directed, and the studio gave him 13 days of shooting, $500,000 and 6 weeks of editing time because the television premiere date was already booked. The movie, about a man hunted down by a semi-truck for seemingly little rhyme and almost no reason, was a smashing success by TV movie standards, whatever the fuck that means, and Universal immediately made a longer cut and put it in theaters overseas. Taste buds, I ask you this, and I can only obviously ask you this as the first question. Greg, we'll start with you. What are the hints here that Spielberg will become the Spielberg? And bonus question, why does he suck here?
I think that what you really see here is you could imagine that this movie, you couldn't help but make it interesting, but I think that's not true. I think that a big truck going 30 miles per hour with a little red car going 35 miles per hour in front of it is not something that's like naturally very engrossing as they just go through the hills. But the way he makes it just jump out at you is the way he moves the camera. He shoots these 2 cars, the car and the truck, in such interesting ways. You feel like you understand the dimensions of these vehicles. The sound direction is absolutely incredible. And so it is just these like really sort of like audacious shots, like coming up from behind the car around the truck that just like keeps you so engaged. And then, the sound direction where it just like you hear everything both these vehicles are doing. And it like just... it keeps you like in a sensory way, you're totally locked into this experience.
Yeah, this is like the 6th show of this season where I brought up how it affected my viewing of one battle after another. But in the last 20 minutes of one battle, like I didn't think about it at the time. I just watched Duel this week, but like clearly PTA had been watching some Duel and knowing how when there's a car chase that isn't through San Francisco with the cars hitting fruit stands and knocking people on ladders over, when you just have the open road at normal speeds, you have some work to do, and I think both of them did it. What about Eric and Mike? What do you see here in Spielberg Jr.?
Yeah, I agree. There's a fluidity with how he's moving the camera, and it makes sense that Eric said earlier that Jaws is a spiritual successor. And the whole time, the fucking truck moves like a shark. I don't know how it's at the combination of how the truck is smoothly driving and how the camera is capturing it. It is not just following a car; it is chasing a smaller fish, and that's what it feels like the whole freeway. I was gonna say the whole freeway scenes. That's the whole movie. All of the movie.
Plus, not a lot of people know this, but if a truck stops, it dies.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it drowns, right? I think that's what happens. I mean, I guess Dennis Weaver's car does drown a couple of times in here, so that might not be too far off from the truth. I don't see a whole lot of. I mean, what's funny here is the flaws of Spielberg as a filmmaker that are evident here are how he is also, to me, kind of the strength of the propulsion of the movie, because it's so dynamic. Because he doesn't have any resources, he doesn't have the time.
Right.
If you what CinemaSins would call the mistakes are some of the things that give this its flavor. And by mistakes, I will say, if you watch this, look at the windows in any given shot, you will see the film crew in the camera. There's a shot early on with Dennis Weaver in his car driving, and clear as fucking day, there's a reflection of like a middle-aged dude in a fucking t-shirt sitting in his back seat, like on the back window,
That's
on
the
the
ghost.
driver's side window.
He actually looks down the barrel of the camera and goes, "I'm Union."
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, yeah, I can't move that. No, but like, there's in the phone booth scene, when at the rattlesnake, the Snake-orama, that's a Spielberg cameo in that, because you can actively just see him standing next to the camera in the reflection, and that's all shit because they were filming God knows how many setups a day. And like, to me, the reason why the movie feels as dynamic as it is because it's so a young and hungry Spielberg is at it, and he's cutting corners and like not caring if the boom mic shadow is in shot and stuff. And
they had 12 days, you said? Like, I mean, you got to get this stuff in the can and get down the road.
I'll say it's not the reflections that bother me. It's let's talk some shit on the greatest filmmaker. All right,
do it.
It's we're watching somebody learn how to build tension in film. And Greg said that the sound design is great, and so much of the visual tension, so much of the time it works. But sometimes it's just mirror, nose, mirror, nose. Should we do that 30 more times in this 3 seconds? Yes, we should. And like, less is more sometimes, Steve. Less is more. Like, and those sprinkles of that pattern is throughout the whole movie. So there's times where you're like, oh fuck, it's so tense, and then you're like, oh, this is goofy. This just got really goofy and broke the tension you were actually building.
What if when they asked them to make a longer version, instead of adding the school bus scene and the dishwasher scene, they were like, 30 more mirrors to nose. That's what we need.
It felt like it.
It seemed like, in a way, like what he added was like, okay, now the movie needs themes. And it feels like in the additional scenes, you can feel him being like, we only have these couple scenes now to do this. So it feels heavy-handed in a way that maybe shouldn't be surprising for like a car chase movie. But I feel like the adding in like some bigger themes was just like, okay, we get it. This guy's whiny. This guy is like self-congratulatory or self-pitying, I guess is a better way to put it.
And also kind of instigating too. It's like that's the thing that like you think of Duel, you think of this poor guy being tormented by the truck, but he's the one who aggresses first, right? He passes him over because he's got this meeting to do,
and then he passes him in a passing lane. I think that's fucking fair. That's okay to do.
He passes him, and then he does the cardinal sin of passing somebody. Is then he fucking lets his mind wander, and he goes 30 goddamn miles per hour on the freeway.
I love how he says at one point to himself, I just can't remember to keep going 60 or 70 miles an hour.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, I'm not saying that the response was equal to the offense, but there was, he does, if he had just let the truck go when he, like, the truck blasts him and blasts past again, instead of escalating, I'm not 100% sure he would have been in the predicament. That said, it's very clear with all the license plates on the front grille that this truck is a hunting.
Yeah.
So I think maybe you could make the case that the victim had already been chosen. But, before he knew what the stakes were, this guy who's such a weenie in life was getting off on, these little microaggressions on the road, right?
It feels like the ultimate Spielberg move he's making here, though, is the one that probably all of us spent the whole week thinking about in regards to Jaws, which is like, now that you have the movie, it's very obvious that you shouldn't show the truck driver at any point. But I don't know that that's like something that like is totally self-evident. Like Spielberg, part of like his craftsmanship is that he makes it look like, yeah, anybody would make this choice, but not everybody would. And not showing the guy that's actually driving the truck is very much like not showing the shark in Jaws, in that like that negative space causes us to imagine like, is this guy a serial killer? Is he like, because he got like the jigsaw thing of like, I'm dying, and so I'm gonna like take people on my way out? Is he just looking for someone to kill him?
Is he a jeeper or a creeper?
Is he imbued with the ghost in the back seat of that car?
Is he like Large Marge's husband? Like, is he Mr. Large Marge?
Mr. Marge?
Mr. Marge.
Yeah, and I think you're totally right, Greg, is that this script, I would, if you pitch this movie to me, not to make it, I know they would want me to, but I'd say no immediately, but to watch it, just this premise to watch it, and it was directed by anybody else, I would say fuck no. Like, the reason that I watched this movie is because he takes this basic premise and makes it great, something that is very difficult to do. Going back to like what he's not great at, I would say Spielberg's most typical sin is not trusting his camera work and storytelling to deliver emotion, and then adding the schmaltz very falsely, like his worst movie of all time and the worst movie of all time, Hook. That is what we are missing here, is like he doesn't even give himself the opportunity, and it's what makes it so streamlined and, you know, perfect, I think, in that
Mike,
way.
I feel like
No
we
kids.
both still go to jump in and defend Hook, but do you remember when we watched it, we agreed it was awful?
Yeah, we
It's
both
so
went
bad.
like, we both shrugged and whatever, fine.
It's so
Not
it
gonna-
is. Hook is what everybody told me Goonies was for my generation. All the people that were too old for the Goonies.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I still watch the Goonies. I'm like, I can appreciate the sense of humor. I can appreciate the score. I can appreciate the craft. But then you watch Hook and you're like, I can appreciate moments of Williams' score is really beautiful. I think the opening of Hook is really wonderful. And then, you know, but it I don't know, man. It, like, the rest of that movie is just real hard to get through. And trust me, we've addressed it on the show. I've tried.
Teach the
I've tried,
controversy.
Ringo. I've tried real hard.
Have you pulled the kid actors on and you're like, what the fucking deal? How dare you?
All right, Charlie Corsmo. First, you're going to have to answer for being a young Republican now or whatever. But
Oh boy.
Is he that
but
young?
after that, you can. Yeah, no.
How he's just a Republican.
That was all Hook's doing too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, if you're kidnapped by
Oh,
pirates, you're gonna become a pirate.
That's true. That's true. Bad form. Bad form.
Before we get out of here, there's one person I do want to bring up. That, I mean, Spielberg is, I guess, linked to and has mentioned in interviews, but so is everyone. Mentioned watched Nouvelle Vogue last night, and all of those guys were obsessed with Hitchcock as well. But do you guys really see that here, as in, like, if I'm gonna make a movie and I'm gonna make style, then I gotta go Hitch while I'm figuring out my own style?
True.
Do you guys see that?
Yeah.
It undeniable, and just the diner scene by itself is it's a Hitchcock tension scene. The diner scene where he sees the truck is outside,
Yeah.
and the owner could be anybody
Yeah.
inside, and the paranoia
Yes.
that comes with that. I mean, the extreme close-ups, like that's when you start really getting into the inner monologue with Dennis Weaver's character.
I thought it was a bit much when he had the truck fly over the cornfield, though, and it shot at the guy in his car, and then it flew off. I thought that was like an homage, sure, but maybe a little bit heavy-handed.
Yeah, and then when it ran over Tippi Hedren, I was just like, come on.
But Tippi Hedren's a good bring up. The birds don't have a reason, or it's just what the fuck is happening right now, and I don't have time to think about it. I gotta run.
The reason birds suck.
I have heard it described.
Yeah, birds are assholes.
I've heard
Yeah.
the movie described as like the truck driver. I think it even says this on the box art, like the truck driver is like a serial killer and his weapon is the truck. I wouldn't even say that. I think that doesn't make the
too
movie
much.
better. That makes it kind of worse. We don't know. I like, honestly, personally, I like Ghost Truck. I think there's a lot of visual evidence
There was never
that
a
the truck is not a,
This is a prequel to Poltergeist.
but honestly,
you guys.
like there is a proud tradition of like ghost ships on the Mississippi or on the oceans, ghost trains on the rails. We like these stories of like supernatural vehicles. And even though the movie clearly disproves that several times because the truck is definitely
Yeah.
there, I kind of like that like weird supernatural feel to it. It feels monstrous. As much as it's like an animal, it feels like some sort of weird like ghoul.
The other Hitchcockian thing I think too is that keeping everything not like there's still a lot of black and white, but there's a lot of gray too. I mean, you guys, or Eric at least, was fighting for, the rights of the truck driver. Maybe he wasn't totally in the wrong. And then we talked about the school bus scene, and the truck driver is the one who actually saved him. So
I love it.
Too weak.
He gaslights that's the best part, where it's just like, it's like this guy's going crazy, like, get the kids out of the road, get the kids out of the road, like, this guy's trying to kill me. And then the truck driver's like, hey, I'm just gonna help you out here, and you're the crazy asshole that almost, if you notice, he almost runs over the kids when he peels out because he's worried about the truck coming and hitting everybody. And I like that the truck driver's like, no, I'll help out these kids, I'm not a fucking monster.
He's not generally
it's
malevolent.
such a classic bastard move of just like
psychological warfare.
But I also don't buy that as like, oh, I'm going to be helpful because I'm here. I buy that as a sure, like, oh, I'm going to make them think this dude's fucking crazy.
Oh yeah.
And I love it as an addition, because that's one of the additional scenes that Spielberg shot for the longer version, the theatrical version. And I like, because the only other time you really see that interaction is when he flags down the old couple towards the end, and it's also an Altman-esque moment where they're all talking over each other, and the old dude's wife, who dressed exactly like my grandma dressed, by the way, where she's like, get out of here, like, leave this kid, we don't want any of this business. It's like, this isn't our business. He's like, please just, either take me with you, or at least in the next town call the police for me, and all this stuff. And then the truck, like, makes it becomes threatening to that couple, right? So I like that you see this other end of it, where the only times that you'd seen it in the original was when he bowled over the Snake-orama, when it was threatening to everybody else, that he was trying to say, hey, this guy's fucking crazy. And then you had this new instance where Spielberg, you could tell, was like, let me do something different here, and that's the expectation going forward. And then you look back and you see the truck gently pushing that school bus forward and helping the motor.
Also, in both cases, it clears the road. Like, it gets the people who aren't part of the duel out of the picture. Right. So that, like, because that's what this truck wants, the purity. That's why it's called Duel, I guess. Wants the purity of just this one-on-one interaction.
Mono. Yeah.
Everybody's running up the street saying, can't be part of the duel. Can't be part of the duel. We have to take a break. And if you are feeling a little bit sweaty, it's because we're about to go into our next segment. The hottest men of 1971. Hottest then. We're not going to talk about how they look now, which is probably like dead. But then they were babes, and we're going to talk about them in just 1 second.
Mount Rushmore!
Gentlemen, we had the Rushmore for hot ladies scheduled for tonight, but we hadn't done hot boys yet. And the only reason we get to do hot girls is because we do the hot boys first. That keeps us clean and clear. So, and Eric was on the hottest boy in Ain't It Cool News history. I don't know if you wear that award proudly.
Sure. That's a low bar to clear.
Yeah, it's like having the fastest mile time at Ain't It Cool News.
Damn.
I'm trying to come up with something even meaner. That's like, nope, I got nothing.
So we're going to do the hottest boys of 1971. I mean, we've had so many so far this season. We have so many coming up. They don't have to be part of our season. Anybody from the world of pop culture, or you know what? Government?
Yeah, dude.
Let's get crazy. It was the 70s.
Tricky Dick, hottest boy of 1971.
It's the hottest nickname for sure.
Yeah. This is porn. Yes.
Eric, we're going to start with you. We're going to try and get 4 heads on this mountain. So they are going to be the 4 most beautiful, iconic heads. But I need you guys' nominations. So, Eric, who do you think should be up there?
A bunch come to mind. Obviously, it's not Dennis Weaver. I love you, Dennis, but Mr. Weenie Man from Duel cannot make Mount Rushmore. I think I'm going to start with the bad mother, shut your mouth, Richard Roundtree. This is 1971's the year of Shaft. So I think you got to go full fro chops, black
if
is
says
beautiful.
your name, if a woman says your name and you can say shut your mouth, I think you got to be hot in order to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I nominate
Excellent.
Richard Roundtree.
Very of the time. Perfect one. Let's go, Mike. Who do you got?
Feathered hair, deep V's, so many scarves, and just a raspy, poppy rock and roll. It's Rod Stewart, Ryan. He had 2 number 10 hits this year, and goddamn, is this maybe the one year Rod Stewart could be on the Hot Boy Mountain?
Is this? I mean, do you want to talk about his ability to chug? in here?
Chug in what way?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then I guess we're not going to talk about that. Rod Stewart. Yeah, I think that you're right. Probably. Although he was married to Stacey's mom at one point.
I heard she got it going on.
She does have it going on. So, yeah. Greg, 2 in here. Probably your top 2 are stolen. Who do you got next?
When we do this, usually I go to Google Hill and I try to think about what are hot boys. This one, I made a list of just the dudes I find hot from 1971, and it's got to start with McCabe himself, Warren Beatty.
Right.
Just like one of the most beautiful people, really, to like be on screen, and he's like a little rough in McCabe and Mrs. Miller, but I don't know. Still getting the job done, if you ask me.
I mean, yes, he is. And he's dirty like everyone is, but still a giant bear coat sort of takes your eyes off the dirt.
I do wish,
And that face of his.
having watched the movie a couple times recently, I do wish you could smell in movies, because there's that part where Mrs.
Nope.
Miller is like,
Nope.
you've got everything right except for the cologne. And I wonder what that smelled like. We guessed Drakkar Noir last week, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, if it's not that, then it's the attitude of that.
He probably
It
doesn't
has
smell.
that attitude that Drakkar
He probably
brings.
doesn't smell like Axe, the body spray, because that didn't exist then. But he probably just smells like an axe.
An
Yeah.
axe, yeah, like wood chopping tool. Okay, we got 3 goodies. Before we put one on, Eric, you got one more for us?
Okay, here's the thing where I have an unconventional idea here. And it sounds way more creepy now that I'm about to say it out loud, because the whole point of this, which is one of the best romantic movies of all time, is the fact that the woman is very old and the boy is very young. But Harold and Maude is 1971,
Yes,
and Bud Cort plays, Harold of the Harold and Maude thing, and he's kind of like Boy Wednesday in this, right? He's mopey. He's he's trying to commit suicide, kind of. Maybe for real, maybe not. He's macabre. He's got a really kind of dark sense of humor. I think that
Macabre
there's
and Mrs. Miller.
Yeah, so
Sorry, Greg.
yeah, so I think like Bud Cort jumped to mind. This is also a big year for Clint Eastwood too, right?
Yeah, hold
So
on.
we're just
save
doing
it for
2? We're
later.
just fucking doing
No,
2
no.
now?
I mean, listen, I got like 5 more. We haven't even.
So
talked
we all
about,
do, Eric. Shut your mouth. You do one at a time.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'll shut up because I do have I have another good one. So
We didn't warn Eric about.
I'm so sorry.
his
I didn't know the
seriousness about this.
process. I didn't know the process.
I've got 4 now. By the way, this show is me giving my friends points, judging them on what they say.
Mhm.
Bud Cort could have been a good name for this podcast.
Bud Cort. That's a great one.
Dun dun.
Beatty's
Dun,
in.
dun,
Warren
dun.
Beatty's obviously in.
Dun, 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 dun.
Greg, I can't believe they gave that to you and you picked last.
Yep.
Like, what a tee up for you, buddy. Okay, Mike, you are up. Hey, Mike, and just do me a favor. Say one. Just one.
I'm
Okay,
so
one.
We'll see. We'll see right now. He was on the cover of Life magazine because he's the heavyweight boxing champion and it is the fight of the century, Muhammad Ali.
Oh, that's.
Do you know what's hot? Butterflies and bees. And Muhammad Ali's.
The prettiest fighter of all time.
Shaft is on. Eric gets a point. Greg, we got one more?
Okay, yeah, I have to.
Well, a couple more, but give me one more right
It's
now.
time to be true to Greg, and I don't know what it is because it's very like unconventional. But Donald Sutherland just has this like again, he's like 70s hot. You look at a picture
Greg
of him and
loves
you're
him
like
so
not
much.
hot, but like I don't know, you watch him move around, you hear his voice, he's just really got something.
This
You watch him bite a
is-
shoulder.
What is this? Clute?
Yeah.
Is this that era
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
mustache?
Mhm.
So he's got.
we just
mustache?
did
Mustache.
Clue a couple weeks
Okay.
ago, and I know he would
Okay.
think this is all so pathetic, but I think
No, he's
really
got
hot.
something. I mean, you look at Animal House, right? There's
And you see
there's a
Tush in
reason
that
why
movie.
he could bag Marion Ravenwood, right? So
And we did
Yeah.
And I'll-
Don't Look Now a few seasons
Mm.
ago, and he's got a real smoldering sensuality in that.
yeah, I see it.
Okay, so I got 3 now. We're going to go to speed round. So just give me one more each, starting with Eric.
The piercing blue eyes of Gene Wilder, Willy Wonka, crazy, Something alluring about that dude, though. I think there's a reason why people are still dressing up at him as Willy Wonka. There's that character, that look, that kind of half crazy. I get it. And I don't know if you've ever read Gene Wilder's autobiography. He talks about his penis a lot.
Good for him.
Is it called something like Wilder Than You? I bet it's got
something like
title.
that. But it's like it pretty much should be like Gene Wilder's boners through the years. So it's like
Talking
starts
hog
out
with
talking
Gene
about
Wilder.
being in like getting a boner for a girl in elementary school and going, "What's this?" And then talks about getting a boner for a girl in high school and then a boner for this guy. I'm just like, this guy was super fucking horny. So
Keep it in the gene, Wilder. That's what I say.
Yeah.
Mike, speed round one.
The horrifying eyes you can get lost in. He slinks. He beats the shit out of old people. It's Malcolm McDowell. And if you say he's not hot, you don't know the women I know who are attracted to dangerous creepers.
Including everyone you've ever hooked up with. And Greg, who you
This
got?
is my last one.
Yeah.
Holding it down for big boys everywhere. I always have to give a shout out to any big boy who like I've heard a woman say is sexy.
Is it the truck from Duel?
It is Tevye from Fiddler on the Roof. The way he moves, the way he sings.
Do you remember when you saw him at an airport?
Dude, I remember when I saw him in an airport.
if I were a rich man.
Yeah. You weren't even sure it was him. It's not really a classic anecdote. Okay, so I've got one spot left. And my nominees are Rod Stewart, Muhammad Ali, Bud Cort, Tevye, Gene Wilder, and Malcolm McDowell. And Mike, obviously going to take this one down. That's Muhammad Ali.
Mm-hmm.
Your 1971 Hot Boy Mountain, get your tickets now, is Warren Beatty, Richard Roundtree, Donald Sutherland, and Muhammad Ali. We got some classic buttes, and we got some classic beasts.
Fuck you, Gene Wilder and Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, fuck you guys. When we come back, more about Duel. Taste Buds, we've talked about Barbara Loden's idea of women so far on this season, and we've talked about the conformist idea of men, but let's get down to Steven Spielberg and Dennis Weaver's idea. What is this movie saying about what it means to be a man, Mike?
I think it's so telling that the first dialogue we hear in the entire movie is a radio show where a guy starts calling in and you're like, is this actually like a woke progressive dude in 1971 because he's a house husband? No, the more he talks, he's not proud of how he helps his wife. He is so, as to use an Eric term, weenily embarrassed that anybody will find out that he's just a house husband. Also, your neighbor's neighbor, you don't go anywhere. But that his wife is keeping it down. Like that's a fine role. But it's his attitude towards what he's doing. And right there, you're like, oh, I think we're going to learn about what weenies do and what weenies should do throughout this movie. And it sets the scene. And then we see Dennis, just Ross Geller, weak man his way through the entire fucking movie. Either he is too much of a bitch or he is so worried that only he thinks he's too much of a bitch that he makes the wrong aggressive move at the wrong times.
That's the thing, I think, is that when you're a weak man, and I've had no experience with this, but when you are, every decision he makes is wrong.
Yeah.
He's either like, he's such a bitch when he shouldn't be, or overcompensating in this way because he's getting bullied. Greg and Eric, what do you see about this man? I know his last name is Mann. What's his first name?
David.
Yeah.
David Mann. Yeah, David versus Goliath, right.
It's interesting that his name is Man.
He's just man.
Yeah, it's like interesting in a couple of ways. One, because this is kind of like man versus machine, and in another way because like he's kind of like standing for masculinity in 1971. And the picture it paints of masculinity in 1971 is so dire that like men are no longer like accorded like supreme status in their household, and so they like have no idea what to do or how to respond to that. And so there's like they are no longer the head of the household, but they still have like that anger in them, and that anger seems to have to go somewhere, even if it comes out as whining, even if it comes out as misdirected violence. It's like still, I don't know, somewhere in these men.
Yeah, and I didn't put the connection first time I watched it between the radio show that Mike was talking about, which I did some research on, and I can't tell if it's a skit or
It's crank yanking.
Or if it's like a
yanking
call-in
cranks?
show. They might be yanking cranks, but he's talking about like, I have a form to fill out and it says who's the head of your household, and I don't even know. And then that leads to Dennis or David Mann at the gas station making the same fucking cheesy joke about like, I'm not the boss, so who would know? Just this awful like stand-up
Also,
comedy.
his wife is telling him, you should have done fist fighting for me. And I have to say, like, that's not something that you often actually hear from women, at least not in my experience. Like, you should have punched that guy. And that's what his big crime is. That's why they're like not really talking to each other at the moment, is he didn't like defend her honor.
Right.
But we have a word for what he is. I mean, we have one now and then in Shakespeare's time and nothing in between, which is he got cucked and didn't do shit about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's, kind of on the surface, Duel is a story about standing up to the big schoolyard bully. And it takes him getting to that final moment where he stops running away and he actually confronts the thing. So it's a little on the nose on that aspect, but you're right. What makes this interesting to me is all the stuff he gets wrong leading up to that. It's not just the microaggressions that I talked about earlier, where he's kind of contributing to this like cycle of escalation. It's the like when it's in that diner scene where he like slaps the sandwich out of that dude's hand, and he's just like, you eyeballing me, son, kind of thing. It's just like, what's your problem? It's like you could so easily, if he had stood up in that scenario, he could have just taken the table knife and went outside calmly and popped the tire on that fucking, the thing, and see who comes out to answer it. Right.
Also,
if that's what he wanted to do.
What's also interesting about that,
but he didn't. He got so in his head, and Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. What also is interesting about that scene is his plan is to go over there and like speak with a guy rationally. But when he goes over there to do that, he can't like find a way to just be like, he wants to apologize and be like, sorry, man. But instead he's like, hey, cut it out, would you? Stop. And the guy's just like, what?
The fuck you talking about? and then he gets beat up for it, and kind of rightfully so. It's like, again, he throws out his aggression in weird moments, and but this is what happens. You're talking, I think, a little bit off, Mike, before we started recording about how nerds get power, or they get this rush of power, and they become worse than the jocks and the people that had the power beforehand. And it's like,
I honestly think that, like, based on what I would expect from a Steven Spielberg truck driver at a truck stop, that truck driver was patient and as like kind for as long as he could be. And then after a while, he was like, all right, I just got to kick the shit out of this guy.
If your sandwich gets slapped to the ground, you're going to throw some fists.
That's a line.
Yeah, he was like, too much. I do have a question for you guys regarding the scene. Because watching it, twice back to back, you see a good amount of the people. You see him put together like, okay, we know that this guy was wearing boots. We know that this guy had blue jeans on, and so
which sucks. You wish you had like different details than the most obvious thing everyone was wearing.
But this is the 70s, man, and people weren't wearing like. If you look back at that scene, 80% of the dudes in there are wearing like fucking plaid stripe.
They've got the same outfit on.
Yeah, so I was looking at it going. So my question to you guys is, do you think the driver was actually in there?
No.
He believes the driver is in there, but I'm not convinced that the driver was actually ever in the diner.
Because I think the amount of times we go back and forth along that counter, we kind of get to know those weird cracked faces, and they're all still there, and then we see the truck drive away.
Yeah.
I don't know how the truck driver knew he just got his ass kicked. He had like some sort of sixth sense about that. But
I mean, I think that the truck driver does also take on this Jaws thing of like a little bit of omnipresence or omniscience of like, I know how to fuck with him at all times, Yeah. I'm not saying Jaws 4, I know where his family is in Florida and I'm going to send my child to get him, but Jaws 1, where the shark just knows what to do. Mike, I'm going to throw this to you. As like a character analysis and as like a film analysis, like screenplay, what did you think of all of the David Mann inner monologue? Like we don't have a lot of people for him to talk to, so we sort of needed it. But how important was it, and how much did it dictate how you felt about the guy?
It's interesting because for so long we don't get it for the first like 20, 30 minutes. It's either like random mumbles to himself or there, and like I feel like you can make more of your own decisions about him before you get his inner monologue, which is true about all of us. And so when it's how he wants, the one that like stands out, he's like, it's after the first like escalation, and then the truck driver really scares him. He's like, so he's crazy. What can I do? Find him a psychiatrist? But this isn't an era where I've seen that 70s show. This is an era where like people like Red Foreman and other dads are like, fuck psychiatry. Like I do think, and it's funny because I don't see this in a lot of Spielberg stuff, but it does feel like he's like, oh, this is a new, softer man, and he can't handle it. Like he doesn't know how to be. And so he's wondering about psychiatry while also being like, but that stuff's dumb. Like he doesn't want to be responsible for anything. That's what it feels like we learn in his inner monologue.
Yeah, men lose privilege, and then
I think that's a great point.
They don't want to participate anymore.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think for precisely what you just said, the fact that we don't get the inner monologue for a while softens the blow for me, because I like that the inner monologue we get doesn't feel scripted to me. It feels frantic and hectic and jumbled the way that an inner monologue really is, where it's more of a whisper that, as your mind's racing a mile a minute. And do they, I think he overuses it a tad, but I appreciate for the most part that when it's used to an effect where you're not just getting that, what's the classic Evil Dead one where they weren't sure if people were going to understand a cut, so they had Bruce Campbell ADR tool shed, when, at a certain moment where he doesn't have a whole lot of those inner monologue moments, but he has most of them where he's just in his own head and getting in his own way and like pleading with himself and pleading with, not God, but the truck driver maybe. And, and it feels more realistic to me in a way that I'm not used to seeing that kind of inner monologue used in movies like this.
I agree. It's not script. It doesn't feel as scripted as I think it would be. And Eric, I think you hit in the head where like he probably uses it too much, but at the same time, imagine how much a lesser director would have used it more. Right. And so that is something to at least appreciate, right? I got to ask you guys this. So let's start with Greg. Does he reclaim his manhood by the end? Like, is he able to call this a victory? Is he a changed person?
I have to say, I think he has changed, but I don't know if he has for the better. The last images of him are he uses his car as like a lure to get the truck driver to like crash into it and drive off the cliff. And his reaction to that is like to jump up and down and scream. And I thought there was a very simian, a very monkey-like quality to his hooting and jumping up and down. And it's like he has not found the correct version of masculinity by like the movie standards. He has instead just like turned into a little bit of like almost like a caveman, and he has like this weird emotional outburst at the end, and it's like this guy's not better for this. He has given into the worst part of himself, and maybe he's had to just to survive, but it is a little bit of a dark ending, I feel like.
I know that so many options that he could have done would have made for a lesser movie, like renting a hotel room and sleeping there for a week until the truck driver goes away. But yeah, that ending made me think like, oh, this bitch is about to go join Project Mayhem. Yeah. Like he thinks he's something now. He thinks he's a big boy. And I don't know how that's going to work with his wife or with the next guy who flirts with her at a party. Like in Duel 2, No Trucks, where it's just this guy like trying to slap somebody's punch ladle out of their hand because they talked to his wife. I don't know if that's going to work out great for him.
What if in Duel 2 he's the one driving the truck?
Oh,
now?
Hell
he's
yeah!
He's inherited the mantle.
Hell yeah!
It's like the movie The Lighthouse, where it just always cycles around.
Yeah, it's like the 28 Days Later virus. He is the insane truck driver now.
I mean, Eric, like
Mike and Eric,
you might be the best judge for this, but like I feel like this is in conversation with two different Stephen King story/movies, one being Overdrive, which feels like he sat down, watched this movie, and then transcribed some of his ideas. But then
is that Green Goblin Truck?
That's
Green,
that's
Overdrive,
Green Goblin Truck. Yeah. But also it made me think of like Christine, and Christine. Kind of what happens is that not only is the car like just trying to kill people, but it's also turning the owner of the car into like the last owner of the car, like slowly transforming him into that last person. And so that would be kind of interesting if Duel 2 he's like the guy in the truck.
Well, that's where it would go. Honestly, if they did a direct to TV movie, which they absolutely would have in like the 90s, they would have brought like, graying Dennis Weaver back. He would have been the killer. Like he would have been like the Road Games killer in that. But because I think you're right. Like the implication at the end, before he has that kind of little bit of a mental break, he's a little bit like Sally in Chainsaw Massacre, right? Like he wins and he's just kind of like way too excited about it. You know, there's some he's gone bye-bye Egon.
The trauma has not set in yet.
Yeah. I think that yes, there is a world where he could like maybe Norman Bates himself in Psycho 2, you know, where he can like, oh, I'm actually going to be a good, you know, get over this and become a good member of society. And then maybe he has, you know, falling down style, you know, complete break. But yeah, this does feel like that he got pushed to a limit where the ideal result would be, okay, I'm just not going to be a pushover. I'm going to be more proactive in my life. But I think he's more going to be the Michael Douglas guy, man. Like the guy at the end of this movie is just going to take all those small aggressions and, you know, escalate. Like he's had this taste of victory. As we've said, the nerds you cannot give the nerds power. they don't handle it well. So
I don't know if I agree with you guys because he's very elated because he didn't die. The guy who's trying to kill him does. But then it lingers on him and he collapses and then just sort of sadly throws rocks into the canyon. Yeah. Like it doesn't end with like triumphant. His fist in the air, the credits are rolling. Like he is exhausted and tired and sad that all of this happened.
Yeah, I mean,
it's definitely a read.
He's sad because he's scared of his wife, who's going to yell at him for being late.
My take on it is not that he actually becomes a killer, but that he has taken a big step backwards. Like he has moved down the evolutionary scale, and I think that like that dawning on him is what causes him to sort of like become dejected at the end. Because when he's jumping up and down and he's so happy, that's the like barbaric moment where you're just like, you know, something bad has happened and you've triumphed, but then you like wake up a second later and you're like, oh god, that's awful, you know.
He died. You got a Rachel McAdams moment. Yeah.
Oh no, he died.
That's what I was gonna say, is that if this was made in like the early 2000s, that the end would be him walking like triumphantly backwards into the street and a bus just comes and takes him the fuck out. Guys, we have to take a break, but thanks to all this manliness, it's time to take care of ourselves and do a little bit of a shopping spree. We'll see you in 5 seconds. Thank you, Sir Macklemore. It is that time. It's shopping spree time. I am going to hand each of you a shopping cart, and you are going to run your tiny butts through this entire movie, grabbing anything you want. Let's do a quick score update. Mike, you've got 14. Eric has 15. Greg has 17. So that's how the order is going to be for the draft. Mike is first, then Eric, then Greg. It is serpentine, okay? Much like so many farms on the route to on this truck driver's route. So, Mike, we're starting with you. You've got the whole movie in your hands. What are you going to buy?
Everybody knows one thing about me. I'm kind of a car guy. So when I say I want a 1970 Plymouth Valiant, they're like, yeah, you do. That's a classic Mike pick. That's what I want.
First round, first pick, 1970 Plymouth Valiant.
Is that a good car? A car guy like me knows, yes.
A car 100% chosen because its name is Valiant.
It is crazy that it's, I mean, back then it was a new car. This is 1971, so good on them. Yeah, so Mike, you have the worst car we've ever done a movie about. Congratulations. Eric, you can have anything besides the Plymouth Valiant. What do you want?
Mine sounds so fucking stupid, you guys. I'm so sorry, but this is what caught my eye. When he pulls into the gas station, there's a list of pricing on tires for $2.50 each. I'm stacking up on fucking tires, man, and then I'm gonna just get all. I'm gonna take an American $100 bill and have tires for the rest of my life. That's what
I just got my tires changed on my car in 2025, and it was like $1,200.
It is unbelievable. And the brake replacement, by the way, I don't know if you noticed this, $29 for all brakes. So there you go. I'm saying maintenance.
Okay, so do you want the sign for like the retro feel in your house?
No, I want the actual tires. I want the tires that fit in my car now. Yeah.
Cheap tires. I mean,
I know. I told you it was a fucking stupid thing, but I've got to go with my gut. That's what I want.
4 tires for your current car are the value is so much more than a 1970 Plymouth Valiant. So you are ahead of the game right now. Greg, what are we doing?
I think getting those tires shows an intimate knowledge of how shopping spree works. I am going to do what the guest normally does, which is make the most obvious choice possible. I know it's a bad truck, but it's hard to deny that this is a very cool looking truck. And so I'm going to go with the big bad gasoline truck.
And gotta also factor in like if it's actually got a payload of gasoline, that was like what, $8 a barrel or something back then. What's the use now? Like, I don't know. What's the idea? Is the idea that we can teleport it instantly to this time and
It's
place?
in your house right now, which sucks for Greg. There's now a stinky truck in his living room. But
you got license plates for days then. So yeah.
Okay. And Greg, I sort of know that you are a name your car kind of guy. So what is this truck's name?
I'm going to go with Darth Vader because I've never seen a vehicle that looks as much like Darth Vader as this thing does.
Greg's going to get the points there. That he got a whole ass truck. Although Eric almost won with the cheap tires. Greg, you are up. What do you want to get?
This movie, it makes some audacious fashion choices, and I'm not interested in most of them, but you're going to have to give me David Mann's sunglasses there. Very cool, very 70s looking sunglasses.
Slightly orange and hunterish.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately what made the truck driver know, I can fuck with this guy. I mean, look at his sunglasses.
He's got sunglasses that cover 70% of his face.
71, actually. Eric, what do you got?
This is still more shopping spree.
Yes.
I'm
Don't draft a hot man. This is all shopping spree.
I gotta give me some of them fucking rattlesnakes, the roadside rattlesnakes.
Yeah,
I'm gonna buy some snakes from the crazy snake lady.
I can't believe, especially with Mike on the show, Snake Farm lasted all the way to here.
I tried to be less predictable.
How's that Plymouth Valiant treating you now that you just lost the snake farm?
My wife kicked me out and I'm sleeping in the back.
With no snakes. Yeah, and also you can make some money. $50, $60 a ticket to look at your snakes.
Hey, yeah. Make sure to look at my snakes while you get in this phone booth that's in the middle of a fucking parking lot for some reason.
I'm good. That's okay.
The guy goes to the gas station. He goes to the gas station and he's like, "Do you have a phone?" And she's like, "Fuck yes, I do." Next to my snakes.
Yeah, make sure you can see my snakes. Which, by the way, there's a fucking shot in there where whoever the stunt man was that was next to that rattlesnake barely escaped not getting bit, by the way.
Yeah.
Holy shit. All right, sorry.
Mike, who you got?
This one can, in our time, it takes 90 minutes, but it's probably a 6 to 8 hour road trip, and we see 4 or 5 cars. I want, wherever I drive, I only see 4 to 5 cars all of the time. I want an open road.
Oh,
that's because the truck is clearing them out.
Yeah, he's knocking them all down. When you work somewhere where it takes you an hour and a half to get there and 20 minutes to get home, that drive home is so amazing. Like, I would drive an hour and a half just to be on that free road. Unfortunately, it's not a snake farm, Mike. So Eric's going to take that point.
Woohoo! My snakes.
But Mike, you get to go again.
You're hot, you're sweaty, you're probably hungry. I fucking love a shitty roadside diner.
You want the whole restaurant?
I'm taking... I'm going to get a cheese sandwich, Ryan. I'm taking the whole restaurant. This restaurant is mine now. And the real owner these days bought it, had no idea about this move, and he's like, people just keep coming and taking pictures. And I was like, what is this all about?
Will you be as laid back as your broken fence that this guy just crashed into and drove away?
Yeah, a fence is a fence. And what? There's not cows over there. It's like, all right, somebody will fix that later.
Yeah, it's a fence for aesthetic purposes only. Diner's a good pick. Eric, what do we got?
I kind of have to stick. I mean, there's so many. This is such a limited movie for this kind of game, which is really makes it interesting because it's pretty much once you take the two cars in question out, then you're kind of left with real estate. And I think I'm going to go all the way to the beginning where he pulls out of his nice suburban family home in Los Angeles, California. That is probably now worth about $74 billion. So I'm gonna take that nice. You have the open road, which is also nice. I've taken that exit in LA before. I've been on that road. I've taken that exit before. It's never not been a clusterfuck, and here they're doing it with ease. So I get that instinct, but I'm gonna go with the single family home in Los Angeles, California, in 1971.
I don't know what's more disgusting, to Zillow that property now or to Zillow it in 1971, where it was like $350 for that entire house.
It was a crisp $5 bill and a firm handshake.
Well,
Yeah.
I've saved up my money working at the grocery store.
I know. I made minimum wage for 10 days. Can I buy a house now? Of course you can, sir. It's 1971. On his journey in I think the longer version, he goes through a tunnel.
Mhm.
And it's a famous, but not the famous tunnel. I thought it was the Roger Rabbit, Barton Fink tunnel. But it's actually, is it the Back to the Future 2 tunnel? Did anybody look it up?
Oh, I didn't look it up. That would
Yeah,
track.
it's
That's
much more
another
north.
Spielberg connection, by the way. He produced all that
Yes,
shit
he
you
did.
just talked about. So.
Every movie, basically.
Everything
All right.
is Spielberg now.
Greg, you're going up against some property here. You got the Property Brothers, Eric and Mike, with Diner and Suburban Home. What are you going to do?
I feel like this movie makes a really strong case for one piece of car equipment, which is the radiator hose.
Uh-huh.
I am very afraid that I will not have a radiator hose when I need one, and then I will be stuck in one of these duels. And so, just to be safe, I would like to buy one radiator hose. If a guy says, "Do you want me to look under the hood?" and then you say yes, and then he says you need a radiator hose, what did you want him to do? If you're going to be like, "Yeah, rip me off, jerk."
To be fair to David, that guy also just covered the back of his car with gasoline.
Yes.
So I don't know if I would
Yes.
trust him either.
I mean, how many times have you gotten an oil change and they're like, you really need to replace your filter? And it's like, bullshit. I've looked at the internet. That's not a real thing.
Yeah, you're going to filter the oil.
Radiator Hose is also the name of Greg's backup dancers in his Vegas show. So
Yeah.
please go see Greg and the Radiator Hose. I got to give this one to Eric. I'm an older man now, and I want a fucking suburban home. I'm sorry.
My property value is going to be way more than your diner. I'm sorry.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, more Duel. Commerce on the road, truck driving, the open road, machines, roads that are open, vroom, machines, vroom, vroom, survival of the fittest, vroom, vroom, vroom. Is watching this movie in 2025 better to automatically be the truck driver for fear of being Dennis fucking Weaver? Like, have we sort of learned that that's not the position we want to be in? What does this movie tell us about being American in 2025? Eric, you make sense of all that, please.
Well, one thing that I did think about watching this was we're in a moment where I think a lot of I'm a pretty progressive person. And I was very much on the team when they go low, we go high road for a long time.
Mhm.
And that hasn't really worked out so well for progressive minded people. And I kind of had that feeling watching this movie. It's just like at a certain point, the Dennis Weaver character like needs to just step up and fucking punch the bully in the nose. And that's what he does. And there's something very American about that. And like we were talking about, it's also a dangerous thing where then when does the bullied become the bully themselves? Which is a question, but at a certain point, kind of with what's going on in America specifically right now, I don't think taking the high road is it works out too well for the people that get run over by the shitty, evil, serial killing, truck driving ghosts of the world.
I think there's a lot to that in that, like, Dennis Weaver is a coward in so many ways, but he wants to be on the right side at all times. Like, that is such a guiding force of his decisions. And eventually you got to be like, that motherfucker's trying to kill me. Should I do something different?
Mm-hmm. Should I wait for authority to help me, or do I just stand up for it myself? And again, it's he doesn't do it very well throughout. It's not like he turns into John McClane and suddenly he's got the upper hand on the terrorists in this situation. But I think when you're looking at the kind of Americanness of this, it is very much kind of the themes are relevant today, even though the movie itself is very clearly a snapshot in time, as we were kind of joking with in the shopping spree segment of just that is so 1971, like all the old people in there fucking fought the Nazis, right? Like it's like
right.
It's still that weird kind of handover time as the old guard is trying to figure out, why they can't say the N-word anymore and why You know what I mean? It's just like you get the
The
feeling.
real Duel.
Yeah, the real Duel. It's I don't know. You just get the like these new the hippies are coming in and these young bucks, and Spielberg directing this. He must have been 23 ish
Yeah.
when he did this, because he
Let
was
me get-
26 when he did Jaws, and he shot that in 74. So yeah, so I mean he was the young buck himself. So I don't know. I'm rambling now, but I think that ultimately what I was getting at was that the themes are still very relevant kind of to American politics today. I mean, we're seeing this with that kind of fight over the gerrymandering stuff.
Yeah.
Where it's like, do you fight fire with fire, and is there a slippery slope, or do you just keep allowing the aggressors to write all the rules? And it's like, there might not be a good result out of any of it, but at a certain point you got to fucking fight fire with fire. So, yeah.
Buddy, I wouldn't say that you're rambling. I'd say that you're ambling.
Lord, I was born an ambling man. Yeah.
Let's throw this to Mike and Greg. When this movie played in theaters in UK, can you see it striking them as a very particularly American movie?
I think so, because it's such the open road dirt. It's a Western, right?
So much dirt.
One guy going alone and finding another guy. And I think especially UK, the tiny little island full of bad teeth, they think that America's just too open and everybody's a fucking weirdo, and they're kind of right. I also think particularly we have two archetypes, right? There's the violent guy who's going to kill anybody, which the 70s, both in movies and weirdly enough in real life, this was going on. But then David thinks he's better than everybody he interacts with. He's like, but do you know what real America is? This is my stump speech, guys. Real America is a bunch of cowboys just drinking a beer in the middle of the day, sweat off their brows. Real America is an elderly couple just driving down the road for a lovely drive. And I think David thinks he's better than all of it. Instead of enmeshing and actually interacting with anybody, he holds himself above.
But I wonder if, like, the reason, there's obvious Western things, right? The name of the movie, at the end of the movie has him and the truck facing down each other like they're, in the middle of a street in an old West town.
Mm-hmm.
But the plots of Western movies that Dennis or David Mann watched as a kid, are those going through his head too? Like, is he comparing himself to the heroes of the past?
I think, honestly, it's more like the open road and capitalism having the same sort of effect on the individual and the community. And that is that, like, when you're on the open road, you suddenly you like get transformed from somebody as part of a community to somebody in their own individual little metal box. And capitalism has the same sort of effect on us, which is it takes us from a community organism and then transfers us into one that is like only self-interested. And so I think it's like we are become isolated, and by being isolated, we become hostile to one another. And because his failures are his failures for Cool Hand Luke fans out there, his failure to communicate. He can't like talk to his wife about what happened. He can't talk to the guy he thinks is the truck driver. He tries to. He rehearses the speech in his head, and then it comes out something like completely different. So I think it's like it's talking about that isolation that like consumer culture forces on us.
I mean, you want to talk about capitalism, like he is exactly like you described, but then when somebody's like, "Bro, I think you need a radiator hose," he's like, "Fuck you! You're trying to get the money."
Everything's a ripoff,
pocket.
right? You're trying to rip
yeah,
me
you
off.
capitalist.
Well, also keep in mind the whole reason why he doesn't kind of let all this pass is in what kind of instigates all this is he's late for like a business meeting. Right?
Yeah.
And he has to be at a certain point, and the reason why he gets pissed off at the truck is because the truck passes him aggressively and then slows down in front of him, and he's like, "I'm gonna miss my meeting, I can't do this." And then that gets to the point where the truck driver waves him on. He's like, "Finally," and he's waving him into oncoming traffic and almost kills him. And then that escalates. But this all started because he was going to be late for a business meeting, and if he didn't get this meeting, whatever it was, this kind of barely mentioned thing, that it was super important to whatever his job was, whatever his financial security was. So.
But that's like the whole world around him 100 years ago. Like this location 100 years ago, he would have been, in his head, a man of his own making.
Yeah.
And now he's under control of his job, his wife, and this fucking truck. And like it's all like he just should be on his horse roaming wherever, and he can't. You know, it's just a different new America.
And we're like constantly angry all the time, and we've been kept constantly angry all the time, and then with no outlet. And so we don't know how to like give voice to that, and when we do, it comes out all wrong because we don't have like any experience expressing ourselves in a like constructive way.
Well, then you wouldn't be a man. This is probably the kind of guy who brags about how he doesn't beat his wife. Like he's the only one in his crew who has never slapped her. So way to get that is speed round. Thanks, Horn, for saving me from that conversation. We're now in the speed round, so make the answers quick, folks. But the questions will take a long time.
I feel like that was targeted at me, but that's fine.
There have been many claims that this is a homosexual or homophobic movie. Did anyone get that from this?
Nah, normally I'm pretty good at finding that subtext.
Yeah.
I don't see it here.
Mm-mm.
That sounds like the kind of thing I would say on the show, and then we'd get a 1-star review about what a reach it was.
So I'm curious what the argument is. It because like he's kind of clearly disengaged with his family life and he finds some weird excitement and thrill with the stranger? Is that
the mustache, maybe?
There's the mustache. And like he's running away from his wife to be chased by this big phallic thing. I think that the argument is that somebody wrote an essay in that time where every movie had homosexual or homophobic things. Like I think I don't see it.
Especially this era. I mean, listen, there's sexuality is a spectrum, but I don't think Steven Spielberg, I think he's an extremely like textbook heterosexual guy. And I, even though a lot of his stuff is all about broken families, they're all, kind of the traditional family unit kind of families. I'm not saying that
more hetero than a broken family.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, I said that, but like my next guest on the Kingcast is Brian Fuller, or not the Kingcast. My next guest on the Spiel is Brian Fuller. And, he's, very happily out and, lead voice in the queer community in LA. And he's kind of made his name on my show, on the Stephen King show, for giving queer reads of Stephen King stories. And I brought him on the Spiel and we were talking about, so I'm like, it's not going to be as easy because horror is like an outlier. It's where all the people that are put upon by society find solace and genre and stuff.
And
so
it's where you put all your subtext. It's where
it's where the subtext can be. It's kind of the punk aspect of it. It fights against the system and all that stuff. So I'm sure there's not as much queer readings you can do on like some Spielberg stuff. And his response to that was "girl," and I was like, "What?" And then he went on this long tirade. And anybody, I invite you to listen to it. It'll be up in the first week of December. But he was talking about how Gizmo is like the put together gay and and the Gremlins are the sloppy gays, and like he found all this.
They all party after midnight.
Yeah, 100% that was part of his argument. So you can have those reads, but I feel like Duel in particular is very just kind of straightforward, kind of a masculine, versus pushover guy and causing the guy to become a pushover.
Yeah, it's not Fast and Furious.
Yeah. I know you said this was the quick round. Sorry.
I read a fascinating interview where Spielberg like showed this movie in France, and the French critics were like, "Fuck yes," because the French critics were sort of known at that time, post New Wave, of like, we're gonna find the genre, we celebrate genre,
right?
Blah blah blah. And they were like, we think it's about this, capitalism, America, masculinity, all the stuff that we've been talking about. And he was like, the fuck it is. This is a truck that's chasing a man. And he said, this is when he's 24. And so over time, he was like, not only were they right, but he was sort of like, what's the dead author theory called? Of like, it doesn't matter what I say. Yeah. It's like they interpret it how they interpret it. All right, here we go. This is essentially a one-man show. How up to the task is one Dennis Weaver in holding our attention for 90 minutes?
Bad.
Do we see Moody's in his future?
Let's talk about our patron saint of movie of the year, Donald Sutherland. How infinitely better would this still good film be if Sutherland was Weaver?
And you know why, Mike? Because he embraces like the less is more. And I think that's the main problem with this. And I don't necessarily just blame Denny Weaves. I think it got lost. Like the subtlety of an artistic performance just got a little lost somewhere.
Plus, man, you don't know that you're going to be in one of the most influential TV movies of all time when you sign on for a TV movie.
And shoot it in 13 days and are just like, delivering kind of a theatrical performance. I see it, but there's also something that's missing when you put an A-lister in this role, though. I mean, there's something that Dennis Weaver has, that kind of everyman pushover guy, look, that's not, he doesn't have that movie star charisma to fall back on. There's something that benefits this from giving you a bunch of faces that you don't know,
I think that if this was Vin Diesel, the movie would have turned out very differently. But the fact that it's Dennis Weaver, who looks like everyone's stepdad, and he's just the perfect cut, because he sort of looks manly, but not. The mustache is doing most of that work. But I do see the casting, even though he doesn't have the charisma I think we would normally want.
I think about this. I can't really think of anybody else in the role and it feeling the same. Now, you guys are right. Like, you would get better performances in that lead role from, give me 100 other actors of that age range in that time period. But it's a little bit kind of like looking at like Sugarland Express or something and going, well, William Atherton, doesn't give the performance that Warren Beatty would have given in that role or something. And you're right, but he also feels like a young dad. Like, he just feels like the character to me,
Well, that movie got fucked because I saw Die Hard and Ghostbusters before I watched Sugarland Express.
And you're like, wait a minute, I can't trust this guy.
I hate that man. If the truck transformed into an Autobot halfway through the movie, what would that Autobot's name be? Or let's say Decepticon.
It's a Decepticon, right?
I'm guessing Flamer.
Okay, so the homophobia thing is in there?
You did just mention it, and it does say flammable on the back of it. You spent a lot of time reading that one word, so...
Yeah.
Rustor.
Okay, that's pretty good.
I'm just going to call him Gus. Gusaline.
Yeah, I like that.
He's Gus. I'm so sorry.
Optigus Prime.
Optigus.
Can you order aspirin from a restaurant? Would they not be weird about that? Couldn't you just done that?
It was in a forgotten time where people weren't getting sued for giving aspirin to their clients. So
he just says that to the waitress, and she's just like, "Yeah, sure, I'll get you some aspirin." I don't think you can do that normally. I think if you ask the waitress for aspirin, she'd be like, "What?"
Is it on the menu? Question. Do they charge him? Do you think?
Yeah, it's $2.95 with free tires. Follow-up question. Can I get other drugs from a restaurant? Can you just go, is there somebody in the back of the kitchen that can just give you?
Yeah, that's what healthcare used to be.
Who you ask. Find the greasiest haired busboy, and he can get you whatever you need.
With a hairnet that is like really struggling to work. And then final question. How insane is it that the truck doesn't explode at the end? Did we get explosion blue balls, Mike?
What the fuck? What the fuck? We stare at flammable for 90 fucking minutes, and then the car's on fire, and they go off into the Grand fucking Canyon, and then the truck doesn't explode. You keep waiting for it. You watch every minute of those credits, and it still doesn't explode. What the fuck?
That's why it's so fast.
Get a dinosaur
though.
roll. Come on, Aurora. Come on. Yeah, I kind of like that it doesn't. I mean, maybe it comes across as a little bit like the 22 Jump Street gag or 21 Jump Street gag of all the flammable stuff not exploding, and then like the chicken truck exploding or whatever. But I don't know. I kind of like that the fire in the finale was from his beaten, broken, dying car, and that's the flames of that is the reason why the truck driver couldn't see. And I do,
which sort of makes me think that Plymouth Valiant not a good buy, unsafe.
Well, as long as you get those radiator hoses checked, man.
And if somebody doesn't spray it with gasoline,
that's right.
But you know that they will. Speed round is over.
When we come back, speedy round. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
That was the best speed round. When we come back, it's time for awards and rec. Time to give this movie some awards. Did it win Oscars? No, it was ineligible in every way you can.
Literally couldn't.
Did it win Emmys? I don't know. Didn't look it up. Didn't think about that until just now. Did it win Grammys? Yes, it won 7 Grammys for Latin Artist of the Year. And
it won some Tonys, weirdly enough.
Duel the musical? The music duel?
I'm just a truck.
Little bit of a score update. Eric has 23. Greg has 22. Mike has 21. It all comes down to these awards. So, gentlemen, maybe do good. I think. Well, Superman does good. Maybe do well. Okay, we're going to start with musical moment. a movie that John Williams did not score, but I still think a hell of a score anyway. Mike, what's the musical moment?
There's a certain point, and you're gonna know which one I'm talking about because he's driving slow and the truck is right on his ass. And we said Hitchcock earlier. How's this like Hitchcock? Somebody saw Psycho and went, I can do that, but more annoying and worse, right? And now, this is the music award derogatory.
Did I hear parentheses in there, Mike?
Yes, that's parenthesis, Greg.
Eric, what's the musical moment of the movie?
I only had one, and it was the Psycho's cue. So it got stolen from me. I think that like you can't because this isn't John Williams. You don't get much in the way. There's a couple of really decent, just kind of actiony, beats. But ultimately, it's the sound design. If I can't use the Psycho score, it's the sound design of the horn. I mean, it's like the horn is like the roar of the fucking lion on you. So did you
guys hear that the music that plays when the truck drops off the cliff, John Williams worked into the Jaws score?
Well, it's not the music. There's a roaring sound effect that they took from a like Valley of the Gwangi or something. It's like a 40s dinosaur movie, and it's like the dying sound of a T-Rex or something that was used in there that they then put in whenever it's low in the background whenever the shark explodes and it's sinking, and you get that like harp doo 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 doo. Then in the background you hear whoa, and that's that same sound that he uses.
Okay, so I got that wrong, and Eric just lost 3 points.
Fuck! I didn't know. I mean, you are always right.
Greg, musical moment.
I'm gonna go with there is like no music for the first 20 or 30 minutes of the movie, and that really lets you appreciate like the car sounds, and I'm the kind of guy like who loves good car sounds. But it also makes you a little hungry for music, especially because he's not like listening to any as he drives around. He's listening to these awful call-in radio shows, but then the music does hit like 30 minutes into it, and it kind of all comes in at the same time. Like the xylophone is going like a little nuts. The drums come in with like a very 70s drum beat. And I found that sudden music after so much silence to be super impactful.
Mike's derogatory one is a little rough. So
it's the only real option here and it's also something that AC/DC would then again do exactly this in the exact same way in Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive, where every time the goblin head truck attacks, you get the re. I don't know why trucks killing people equals the Janet Leigh getting stabbed in the shower.
It's just a movie rule.
It's just done. It has to be. Yeah.
Greg, fashion choice. You took the Sunnies in the shopping spree. Is that your pick here?
No, sir, Ryan. It is. Apparently, if you are a trucker in 1971 Bakersfield area, you just go into the back of the trucking place, and they just give you one denim shirt, one pair denim pants, one pair cowboy boots, and then just to keep it a little nasty, you get to choose your own hat. It could be a black hat, it could be a white hat, it could be a straw hat. But there is only one outfit that truckers wear, and that's my fashion choice.
I mean, who was it? Was it Einstein who just had the same closet? Or was it Where's Waldo? So he didn't have to make decisions?
Jason Mantzoukas.
That's a great idea.
Eric, what's your fashion choice in the movie?
I mean, if you're leaving me the sunglasses, I kind of have to go with that. I mean, they just dominate. They dominate the poster. They dominate, like, every one of those close-ups that Mike was railing against earlier that he hated so much. Like, you can't. It's like the thing I think about when I think about Duel are those near hunter orange sunglasses and trucks. Those are the two things I think about. So if the sunglasses have been left on the table, I got to take the sunglasses.
Do you know what the sunglasses do too? Is they're bought by a guy and worn by a guy who's like, I want to understand LA. I don't, but I might someday. Like they have that sort of like half-ass Hollywood feel.
Right.
Mike, fashion choice?
I agree. I think it does have to be the sunglasses, and I don't know why. Just like we have the Groucho Marx glasses, there should be David Mann glasses mustache combo. That combo is 71 AF.
Mm-hmm.
God, can you imagine a 1971 Halloween costume where it's the glasses and the mustache and then a tarp that just says Duel on your chest? All right, that is going to go to Eric for being the first to say Sunnies. Mike, cringiest moment.
There's not a lot that made me cringe in the way we so often talk about. in this movie. But you know what did make me cringe? Because then I saw each step like it was a chess move. Is when David goes over to start to talk to the guy and slaps his sandwich onto the floor. I was just like, no, this guy's gonna kick the shit out of you. He's an actual man.
Mike, did you see what that guy was doing, by the way? What? Every bite of sandwich he took, then came 2 chugs of beer with the sandwich in his mouth. That guy was Janelliing like a motherfucker.
He's Janelliing, yes. He's ahead of the game.
Eric, what do we got for cringiest moment?
I mean, the time that I felt the most cringe was when he's on the phone call with his wife.
Yeah.
And it was the whole, because she glances at her kids before she says he practically raped me. And I was just like, I mean, maybe not wrong, but I like that the character even recognizes it's kind of a weird thing to say in that moment. But that was a time where I was just
with the kids playing on the ground.
You're right. Yeah. And she's like, got the traditional mom thing where she's carrying like the toddler around, and the only thing was missing was a cigarette dangling from her mouth. But that was the only thing that really stood out to me. Like you said, I think this is pretty strong for this era, not being like, not having somebody talk about the Asians or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, you want to see some of that watching Spielberg's 1941. You'll see some real fun, cringy racist shit in that. So
I love how Bendis was like, "Yeah, I'll be on your show if I get 1941."
He insisted. He insisted. He only wanted to talk about that one. Yeah.
Greg, what's your cringiest moment?
I don't want to say like generally the fact that this movie fucking hates women and never wants you to forget it. So I'm gonna go with the first time you kind of get that message, which is that weird radio call-in show. Again, going by the rule this year of if I want to fast forward it, it's probably the cringe moment for me. I wanted that to be over so bad, and even when he starts like to think over it or there's other sound, it still goes on. The guy starts talking about he's not the head of the house. He likes to wear a dress. He doesn't want to work. And it's just like, okay, shit, we are really going to be doing gender here for a little bit.
I actually found that a little quaint, to be honest, because I'm like, it feels so like everything is so cruel and the humor is so cruel today and like mean. And I'm like, this is actually, I was waiting for the mean punchline on that and it didn't really come. And I don't know, maybe I was like, okay, maybe, it was a simpler time. I don't know.
Yeah, it was nice to hear 1971's version of Adam Carolla. But because the movie's so man-focused in more than one way, I'm going to give that to Mike Sandwich Slap because, fuck, man, just sit down. You can't do anything right.
Those sandwiches look fucking horrible, by the way. When he orders the sandwich and she brings it, I'm like, I could literally, with my eyes closed, make a prettier-looking sandwich.
When this diner is mine, I'm going to Casa Bonita the shit. When this diner is mine, the food will be up to snuff.
Also, people aren't chewing. Like, he doesn't chew when he gets his sandwich, and when he goes and talks to that trucker, as you said, Ryan, he's just like, the trucker's just taking bites of sandwich and then using the beer to, like, wash that down. Yeah. Nobody's chewing.
Men don't chew.
He eats it like he just...
Men don't wipe,
he
men
eats it
don't
like
chew.
he just clubbed that sandwich to death and drug it to the table. Okay, let's go to... Before we get to the big two, let's go to recommendations. I will start. And Duel, I mean, like, there's so many... big ones. There's so many obvious ones, especially in his career. But a movie that I don't think people talk about enough, but is basically this same sort of premise, which is how do we tell a story with this? It's a movie I love. I'm hoping that I didn't steal anybody's.
You might.
Starring Denzel Washington and Chris Pine, called Tony Scott's Unstoppable, and it's about a train. That is like there's I think big weapons on it or a missile on it, and it's going to kill this town and half the country if it stops. And they're like, it's like Tony and Denzel and Chris are like, I don't know what we're gonna do, but let's fucking make it cool, and they do it. I highly recommend the movie Unstoppable. Greg, what do you got?
There's also a train in this movie, Ryan, and I meant to ask you.
Oh no, don't.
The director's cut of it.
Okay, but I won't.
If you bring up the movie where the train goes towards the screen, Greg, I'm going to scream and run out of it.
Train stops at station. Is that the one you're talking about? The first horror movie?
Yeah, the one that still gets us.
The only horror movie.
The one that still gets us spooked. Which one are we on, Ryan? I'm sorry, I forgot.
What's your recommendation?
Oh, my recommendation is because this is about a duel, but it only takes place over like a day. It made me think of this other movie, which is like these people are like in a like duel that just won't stop, and one of the people is a huge asshole and the other is just trying to live his life, but he gets sucked into it. It's 1977's The Duelists, directed by Ridley Scott, and it's about
2 Scott brother movies in a row.
Yep, it's about it's Harvey Keitel and Keith Carradine, and Harvey Keitel just keeps wanting to fight duels against Keith Carradine, and there keeps being like these interruptions to the duels. They get too hurt to keep going, and these dudes fight like 5 different duels over the course of their lives, and it's like Keith Carradine can just not get away from Harvey Keitel. They're both in the French army, and so they like try to stay far away from each other, but they keep getting thrown together, and it just examines like this lifetime of this duel and what happens to these men as they fight it, and it is very, very entertaining, very picturesque, very beautiful.
What number duel is Keith Carradine like? Oh, you got to be shitting me, dude.
Like honestly, the first one, he's like, "Oh, don't make me do this. I don't want to do this," and he always seems like afraid. And Harvey Keitel always is spoiling for a fight, but Keith Carradine finally will always like meet the moment and always fight him. But he spends almost the entire movie like trying to slip out of a bar if he sees Harvey Keitel on the other side. And the second Harvey Keitel sees him, he's just like, "We're dueling again." And he's like, "Shit, I have to."
Is this a comedy? Because this sounds awesome.
There are funny elements to it for sure. You know, it's Ridley Scott, so there's a panoply of human emotion in there.
Isn't Keith Carradine not trying to duel in McCabe too?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah. Like, dude,
it's in his contract.
He's kind of like the spirit of like hippiedom that is like being like extirpated in the early 70s, and he stands for that. Well, this movie is 77, but he stands for that same sort of thing.
And your favorite movie from 77? You picked this over Star Wars?
Honestly, dude, while I was watching it, I wish Keith Carradine had been a little bit younger so that he could have been Luke Skywalker, because I think he would have pulled off all those same moves. But in like Luke Skywalker is very much Dennis or David Mann whiny, and I think Keith Carradine could have done that same thing without being it so whiny, but still have that like feeling to it. But I think he was a little bit too old.
Eric, what do you got for a recommendation if you've seen and liked Duel?
I think this would make a really good double feature when you look at and hyper-focus on the aspect of this of once the trespass has happened, the almost supernatural threat will not stop chasing you. I'm picking It Follows as a
yes.
So
when I didn't put this together with Duel, but when Greg was talking about The Duelist, I was like, "This is It Follows." Harvey Keitel is that fucking.
I thought
monster.
That's what you were gonna say as you were leading up to your pick, and I was like, you know, because there's an inescapability of this truck at a certain point, no matter what Dennis Weaver does, whether he gives up making the meeting and he parks on the side of the road and takes a nap and you know, is like, I'm going to let this truck, you know, blow by me. I'm going to hide. Then I'm going to go out. The truck's always there and it will always get him no matter what he does until he faces it. So that to me makes this a really good double feature with It Follows.
It's a great wiki as well. The wiki for It Follows has one of the scariest moments in any of the wikis that I've read of horror movies.
Oh, really?
Big Dad. If you've seen the movie, you'll know.
The big guy.
Big Dad. Yeah, Big Dad in the hallway.
Yeah.
Do you guys think we'll ever get a movie version of that riddle where you get $1 million, but a snail is following you for the rest of your life?
It's so scary to even think of, Ryan. I don't want to.
I know, because it's following you and it's slimy and gross. Mike, what's your recommendation?
90 minutes, the perfect length for a movie. Very similar to this length. One man, one car. He gets out even less than David Mann does. His name is Locke. It's before Tom Hardy decided acting was weird voices. 2013 Steven Knight's Locke. It fucking rules.
I thought about Locke, and I thought about Locke with no wheels. Phone booth.
Yeah,
Same thing. I'm just like, what the fuck are we doing? Can we stop, please?
The difference is Locke rules. I know I liked Phone Booth when it came out. I don't know if I can stand behind that one, but I can stand behind Locke.
Nice.
Two very different movies. Two very different tones. I love a Locke reference. In fact, I had a bagel today with multiple locks on it. So I'm going to give that to Mike. And then, Mike, I'm going to need, here we go, your performance. Who is the pound-for-pound performer here? And we all know how everyone feels about Dennis Weaver.
If you've driven around any sort of desert, it doesn't have to be California, any desert, and you pull off to a roadside attraction, Lucille Benson who plays what I call Ms. Snakeorama, the owner of the Snakeorama, captures that energy where it's friendly but terrifying all in one ball. Dude, she fucking gets what this scene is about. And then she cries. She cries. So she's so sad for snakes, and you're sad for her.
Earlier, Greg said that he would say, "Oh, no, thank you," to looking at her snakes. None of us have the balls to say to that woman, "No, thank you."
Bigger pussies than David Mann.
Eric, who is the pound for pound performance of this movie?
There is only one. It's Lucille Benson. That was the number one choice. And not only is it so number one to pick it for this movie, she reprises this role in 1941, which is so fascinating as a movie. It was Spielberg's first flop, and it didn't really flop, but it wasn't his giant movie. It was regarded as a flop, as a critical flop, and it's fascinating because that's only his fourth feature film as a filmmaker, if you don't count Duel, and he's already homaging himself. It opens with the Jaws parody. Mm-hmm. There's a moment when Belushi lands his plane in the desert, and where does he land it? Right next to right into Lucille Benson's Snakeorama. So that's awesome. And she reprises her role as that character. It's the delight. Like I watched this back to back with the TV cut and the theatrical, and I was so excited to get back to that scene just to see her. So yes, she is by far the best actor in the movie.
Greg, 3 for 3. You got somebody else?
I'm gonna say Truck. But Truck doesn't move on its own. There was only one stunt driver, and he asked Spielberg, why is my character doing this? And he says, "You're an ornery son of a bitch." And he went, "Oh, okay, well, that I can do."
A 24-year-old said that?
There is a movement vocabulary to the way this truck moves, and I think the stunt driver did a really good job of bringing that out. You are engrossed by the truck throughout the entire movie, and it's not just the way it looks or the way it's shot. It's the way the stunt driver actually moves it. Mm-hmm. And do you see his hand doing that waving him on thing? Mm-hmm. 2 different instances of that, and both times it's probably the creepiest moment in the movie.
Candy cane.
Is that Joyride?
That is Joyride. I'm surprised it didn't come up. That or Breakdown didn't come up during the recommendation phase, but yeah.
Man, truck movies.
Yeah.
They're the best. We have one more award to give, but I do want to shout out that Eric's got 25, Mike has 24, Greg has 23. This one is worth 3 points.
Oh, wow.
So here we go. Greg, starting off with you. What is the Spielbergiest moment of this movie?
Okay, for me, it comes down to camera movement, because the movement of the camera is always the most fascinating part for me when I'm watching a Spielberg movie. And so I'm going to go with the first real shot of the truck. It comes from around the car, the back of the car, and it moves all the way up, very close in, all the way up the Valiant, and then all the way up the gasoline truck. And it's like the fucking Star Destroyer from the opening shot of Star Wars. You see the full mass and length of this truck, and then it resolves in swinging around the front of the truck. And this is the first time the audience is being taught you're not going to see the driver. You may not get that message right away, but by not seeing the driver full in frame, we're getting one of the most important messages, which is, here is the entire truck. Don't worry about the guy behind the wheel. And by the time that shot is over, I feel like your enthusiasm as the watcher is at a fever pit.
Yeah. I mean, and then we're thinking now in 2025, no drones, no CGI. This would be so hard now, but it was then.
Also, great camera work. The cameraman keeps everything perfectly in focus during all that movement. And that's got to be tough to do.
For sure.
Eric, what do you think for director's signature moment?
I love that shot that you were just talking about. It was high in contention for me, but I think I'm going to have to go with another Spielberg kind of keystone, and that's his oneers that he's known for, and they're usually very subtle. And there's a oneer that he does in this. I'm sure your audience is familiar, but it's a oneer is like one long take where you'll have multiple setups within the take, but it all happens through blocking. So a good example of this is there's a scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark whenever Indiana Jones is talking to Marcus Brody, and he's like, you know what a careful guy I am, and he packs the suitcase, and he throws the gun in the suitcase, and Marcus Brody's like, if I was younger, I'd go with you. Like all this stuff, it is, you don't realize it, but it's like a 6-minute long scene that's never cut, and it feels like it's cut because it changes from a long shot to a medium shot to a close up and it's
not the opening of Touch of Evil or like Children of Men.
Stunt
it's
shot.
not like
where it's
right.
not something that like will stand out to you as like, oh my god, I can't believe, how did they do that? He has a shot in this that's only in the theatrical version, and that's something I talked about a little earlier. It's whenever Dennis Weaver he's gassing up and he goes in to call his wife, and there's the shot isn't as long as a lot of his oneers, but what he does here is he establishes Dennis Weaver walking in, and then the fat lady with her laundry walking in, and he's on the phone, and like his legs up, and he's kind of blocking her, and so he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, and he like moves, and she moves, and as he's talking, and that's the focal point of the shot, the camera's pulling back until she opens up the dryer, or the dryer door, which is made of glass, and it's a circle, and it's perfectly circling Dennis Weaver in there. And in the foreground, as he's framed by this dryer door, he's having his conversation, and she's just taking out her laundry. And there's just something so perfect about Spielberg getting multiple setups in one shot, where a lot of the other stuff, because it's action, has to be choppy. It's like, lots of quick cuts. You're getting all this, you're getting his eye for framing, and you're also getting that kind of great 70s Spielberg noise. It's visual noise here, where there's things going on in the foreground that don't have anything to do with the story, but it's giving it like this kind of lived in, you're actually there feel. So I think I'm going to choose that.
Mike, what do you got for Esteban Spielbergo moment?
Another Spielberg hallmark that he'll get to eventually is children in danger. And while they are not actually in danger, we don't know that yet. Yeah. But it's not just that. It's that suddenly there's kids. We are scared. Now the bus driver is on the hood of the car, and David is in his car trying to bounce it out. And in the tunnel in the background, we see the truck turning like a fucking predator in the tunnel slowly before it comes out, like a moray eel does before it grabs a fish.
That's a moray. Excellent choice, Mike. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about this movie's future and who won this show. That is our Duel show. If you want to go back in the past, I believe you can't find any Dennis Weaver movies we've covered before. This is our first, probably not our last, probably our last, but this is our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th Steven Spielberg movie we've covered. Wow. I can't even imagine who is the second most covered movie or director on this show. Duel, Jaws, E.T., Temple of Doom, The Color Purple, Hook, AI, Minority Report, and Catch Me If You Can are the ones that we have done episodes on. Guys, I'm going to ask you this. We'll start with Mike. What is the movie that you're most excited to do that we haven't done yet?
I'm trying to. That list was long. Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park. Eric, what is the movie that we need to do that we haven't done yet? It's Duel, Jaws, E.T., Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, The Color Purple, Hook, AI, Minority Report, and Catch Me If You Can.
You hit on some of my favorite underappreciateds in there with AI and
AI rules.
What was the other one? And Temple of Doom. I'm a huge Temple of Doom fan. I'm gonna say one that I'd be curious to hear you guys talk about, because it is one that's grown in my estimation since starting the spiel and revisiting it, is Always.
Really?
It's one that I'd never really connected with, and I watched it now, and it is one poorly cast role away from being much more.
Audrey Hepburn?
No, fucking Audrey Hepburn. No, there's a guy that's like the new love interest for Holly Hunter, and he's
just from Roxanne.
He's just a charismatic zero. And
Yeah.
Tom Cruise was supposed to play that character, and he backed out. And when you hear that and you watch what that character was, because the whole point is that her sweet Babu, her beloved, dies, and he's kind of hanging around as a ghost. Spoiler alert, apologies. And he's kind of watching her, watching this new guy come into her life. And when it's just this lunkhead who like has the fucking charisma of watching paint dry. It's just it just kind of kills that aspect of the movie. But John Goodman in Spielberg is so good. Richard Dreyfuss is great in the lead. Holly Hunter is like, it's hard not to fall in love with her. That is one I was really surprised how much I really liked it whenever I revisited it for the show.
Greg, which one do you think we need to do as soon as possible?
I'm going to say Lincoln. I really enjoy that movie, and I really enjoyed the book that it's based on. One of our greatest actors, and just a lot to chew on about the passing of the 14th Amendment. So I'd like to jump in.
We've done 9 movies. You guys suggested Jurassic Park, Always, and Lincoln, and we have not yet done Raiders or Close Encounters. So this guy's going places. This guy
also Saving Private Ryan's in there, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
The Fablemans,
And you can
Amistad, Warhorse,
and the BFG, of course.
the BFG.
And would you count Poltergeist? That is a question.
Well, we did
we've done
Poltergeist.
Poltergeist, yeah.
Oh, I thought was that on your list? I don't know.
No, so we don't count it.
There you
We
go.
did.
Controversial.
We can have words about that. I'm very team Spielberg did most of the creative stuff on Poltergeist, but
I believe we called that episode Toby or Not Toby, who was the director of this movie. Greg, you are coming in hot with 23 points, Eric with 25, and Michael Gravano with 27 points. The Duel man.
Mm-hmm.
It's here like
Eric,
fourth in a row, Mike, or third in a row.
This is my year.
Rigged.
Big rigged.
Oh, there you go. See, that's how he wins. Eric, tell us one more time what the spiel is and where we can find it.
Well, you can find it wherever you get your podcast. Just look for the spiel. It's been on a little bit of a hiatus. I just got married, so
Whoa,
I put,
congrats!
little breaks.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Put the brakes on that show while we were doing that, and we're just getting back into that. And the Kingcast is still chugging along as well. And I also have a watch along show for the new It Welcome to Derry series where me and my Kingcast co-host Anthony Bresnikan are diving into that show each episode. So you can find all those wherever you get your podcasts.
And we have my podcast, Welcome to Dairy, which is what I tell my toilet every time I drink milk.
Ew.
So, Eric, thank you so much for being here. It was awesome to have you. Hope to have you on again. For Mike, for Greg, I am Ryan. And please keep watching those movies. Goofy, tell us how we did.
Perfect cast.